have at least 2 cats that left with me. I don't know if they're going to be with me. It's not freezing out, so they might just, be off playing and partying, doing cat things. Actually, it is below freezing, but it's been so cold that this feels like, okay, 100% normal. It's not excessively freezing to me. It's also not windy, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. Balmy compared to how it has been. No worries, it'll get worse. I know I've been making a lot of videos. I've actually been making videos that I didn't post either. I've been making a lot of videos lately, and I'm really sorry if it's overwhelming to people to see them all. You don't have to watch them all, please. Then again, I've been kind of going through some stuff. This has been an extraordinary year and an extraordinary month. And I keep waiting to see if a cat's following me, but whatever. So yeah, the point is not for me to dwell and wallow and poor me. The point is, this is an experience somebody with avoidant personality disorder hopefully will never have to go through quite as extremely as I've gone through, but chances are very good that you're going to have to go through something along this theme at some point. People with this condition don't do well with losing people. I mean, okay, duh. You don't do well with allowing people in. So even and I get people, it's usually people that don't have the full PD, but whatever, that think I'm exaggerating or whatever. But even if you have like a retail clerk, that's Pixie. I didn't even know she was coming or she was out. I was expecting Poppy. He's my big guy. He's the one that needs to lose weight. Okay, yeah, I told you. Cats randomly showing up. Wait, that's not my cat. That's the black cat that lives here, who's just decided to... Hello, black cat. I haven't seen you for a while. Anyway, yeah. I've said in the past, if you've been following the videos, that it's an absolute fact. If I get like a grocery store clerk that starts recognizing me, then I can't shop at that store anymore, like completely, in case I'm dealing with that clerk. Because that's definitely not my cat, Clementry. Random 6th cat of mine. Anyway, and it's stressful for me to do something like grocery shopping as sort of well adapted to avoidance as I am. I still feel judged. The worst thing ever, oh my God, is going grocery shopping and having them say, oh, this is a cool thing. How is it? I'm like, I don't know, you're talking to me about what I'm buying. I guess I can never buy anything from you again if you're going to pay attention to everything and judge me on it. Oh my God. There is an illusion that the people at a grocery store are robots But that's not true. They're probably judging every single person that goes through that line, sometimes kindly, sometimes less kindly, for what they're buying. Having it thrust in my face is awful. So if you've somehow gotten over that and have sort of made an avoidant connection, let's put it that way. This is a type of thing where I actually there was a kid, a substitute for my son, there is no question about that, who was working at a store and who was telling me blah blah, getting ready to graduate and everything else, and then I hadn't seen the kid for like 3 months. This happened like a couple years ago, and I was asking him, how you doing? You in college and everything else? And the guy's looking at me like, how the fuck do you know anything about me? Because he didn't remember me. Because thousands of people go grocery shopping every day. An avoidant person remembers. The regular clerk, if they haven't seen you every week, is not going to remember you. And that was embarrassing, but it wasn't hurtful. When you actually lose people, it can be hurtful, to say the least, even if they're abusive. I know somebody else who lost their abusive parent with avoidant personality disorder and was like, okay, no idea how to process it. Had gone to therapy to cope and understand and accept and put in the past what had happened. And then the parent died. And you can't really, there's always this hope. It's the worst part of being avoidant. It's this hope that it's going to get better. I wonder if this cat is still coming. I'm always looking out for other people. And it just was like slam, because there's no hope when they're dead. There's no hope when they're gone. What is the point? The thing that happened with my son this past 2 weeks. The thing that's happened with my son ever. Okay. My son truly believes that everything that he's done, every bad choice he's made in the last 6 months is because I call and harass him. Okay. His example that he uses is he was raging and made some suicidal threat. Because that's what he does, because it gives him attention. And I was calling and checking up on him. And then I finally did call, and I didn't call the police. I called the school and had them find him, track him down. Raging. He says that is, now granted, this was after everything had started, but he says that's it. That's what he pinpoints. And he insists that he has PTSD, and that is the explanation for everything. Because once, when he was 8, I was mad and I wouldn't talk to him because I knew I was not going to be respectful. And I had to cope with my anger, and he didn't deserve what was going to come out of me. So I didn't say anything to him for like maybe a day, probably less, and that's caused PTSD. And what does my kid do? He goes to the hospital and in anger and punishment shuts me completely out, because he can, because he has this power. And for 3 days I was losing my mind until I put in a missing persons. I actually called them twice. I couldn't do it the first time. And then I called a helpline. I've called them so many times this past year. And I hate it, and it doesn't help emotionally for me because I'm avoidant. It helps me get facts so that I can do actions. Somebody said to me once that they thought I was excellent at making decisions. Maybe in the past, but not now. Now I get paralyzed because I'm so afraid I'm going to do the wrong thing. Because I've been told I'm to blame for everything. Well, here's what my son comes back. He's raging at me that I made the wrong choice. I'm a terrible person. Because when he was suicidal, I called and harassed him, and I should have called the police. And also, he's raging at me because who the hell am I to put a missing persons claim against him? Doing what he says I didn't do right the first time, which was call the police. Can't do anything right. And everything I do is, something that he can use against me forever. He's told me he doesn't ever want to talk to me for at least a year. And literally the next sentence, he's like, okay, but I need to see you because I need to do this stuff to to completely separate my finances. And I have to be available to do it whenever he is feeling up to it. I'm like, whatever. And he will rage at me forever. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. He actually says this. He's like, I just want his money. I just want his money. That's the only reason I'm talking to him. I'm like, dude, without you around so that I have to waste money on you. I didn't actually say this, but seriously. Now that I'm not being the parent of a teenager that's, a major expense, what am I doing? Apparently I'm going on a foreign trip every 3 months. I don't need his money. I don't want his money. It's delusion. Can't get it out of my head. Oh, it's time to go find that black cat again that I thought was mine. That's not a black cat that actually wants anything to do with me, and I don't feed it. That's very strange. Come on. Anyway, I don't know how to cope with my kid. That I don't know. Because the avoidant person wants to take the blame for everything. The avoidance in me says these completely, utterly bonkers, contradictory, impossible statements, of course, are true because he's blaming me and I'm to blame. It hits me hard in the gut and said, this is the way of the world. Logically it doesn't make any sense. Totally contradictory paradox. But also completely correct, obviously, yes. Yes. true. It perfectly aligns with the avoidance. Bonkers, but true. Here comes that. This will be interesting. Oh, thankfully they just buzzed off. Going like twice the speed limit. Anyway, I don't know. So, how to cope with this as a person with avoidant personality disorder? Okay, obviously what am I doing? I'm making 5 million videos. Because I don't have anybody to talk to. Not really. Because you can send a video and like an email back and forth with somebody, but there's a massive delay. It's not talking with somebody and, you know, having human interaction with them. And it doesn't feel like normal loneliness. It feels like the state of the world. And a lot of that is because this is the way I function in the world. Like I said, I have this disorder. It's not going to change. All I can do is manage it. Take responsibility for it. Again, totally aligns with everything in the avoidant personality disorder. That I have to be the one to blame. I have to be the one to take responsibility. And the only logical thing I can come up with for myself is to not interact with people and not make their life worse, because I will have to make their life worse. And I know there are other people that do not feel the same. You know, I mean, and that's great. Except that they have very, very one-sided sort of relationships with people, where they don't talk about their shit with other people. And they give and give and give until they can't anymore. And then they have this terrible problem with this person because they're expecting a certain amount of attention, and because that's what they've been getting, so they just expect that's the normal. And when the well runs dry, it doesn't go over well. Strangely, the reaction that I've heard is, I'm not good enough with this person, and if I try harder the next time around, I'll be better. And it's a different reaction. I mean, it's an avoidant reaction. It's a different reaction of mine, which is, it will always end this way. Therefore, to be a decent person, I cannot interact with people. As horrible as that is for me. You know, the only, like these videos, I'm not interacting. I do react to comments, not all of them. I feel bad when I don't react to every comment, but a lot of times I just can't. But that's still really not an interaction. And I really feel like this will help somebody. If for no other reason, you know exactly what not to do. If for no other reason, if you've got these feelings, and you go, geez, really, I'm not uniquely terrible, because that is what I grew up being told, that I was uniquely broken and so weird and not, human enough. Oh, there's my boy. I told you he was coming. Can you see him? Come on, Pop. Anyway, no. You're not unique I hope that you never deal exactly with what I'm dealing with, but having avoidant personality disorder is not unique. And again, this is the debate I tell everybody all the time: do not self-diagnose with this stuff, basically because there's no way to improve if this is what you've got. And the best coping technique, the best, most healthy thing to do is accept it and live your life knowing that you don't change it. If that's not what you have, that's really just not good. If it's like, I don't know, assuming that you have a peanut allergy, and then because you assume it and you don't have it documented, then you never get to eat Reese's Pieces cups. Reese's peanut butter cups. I mean, come on, this is a travesty in life. My son, the first time he had vaccines, he had a massive reaction to them. He blew up like little Superman. He was so swollen and in the ER and everything else. And they were like, yeah, it's a vaccine. He's allergic to it. And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and when he was like 13, 14, something like that, maybe even a little older than that, tried it again. And it turned out at that point he wasn't allergic. Now, maybe he was, and he got over his allergy. Maybe he had some sort of infection. Maybe it was a bad batch of antibiotics. Who knows? But in my mind, antibiotics, vaccines, in my mind, getting vaccinated and potentially making his whole life better was more important than buying this assumption that he had an allergic reaction to the vaccines and he could never have vaccines again, period. It would have been easy to put him in a bubble and say, you can't have these vaccines, therefore you can't interact with any kids ever because you might get whooping cough, or you might get measles, or you might get this, and it could make you sick, and therefore I'm going to keep you safe away from everybody. Well, that's what happens if you assume that you have a mental health issue that cannot be fixed, and then you don't work on trying to fix it. That's what happens. You put yourself in a bubble and you don't live at all anymore. And this is reality. This is what happens when you don't have people in your life. When inevitably they go, there's nobody left there. You're alone. You got to cope with this stuff by yourself. And I'm not doing well today. So, okay. This will probably go up later, but today was Christmas Eve. Yesterday was Christmas. Because it was Christmas, I didn't interact with anyone at all. I stayed in the house. It was me and the cats all day. Today, I have to be an adult and do adult things and get the hell out of the house. And among the adult things on my list was having an oil change. This is not a big deal. Oil change in the car, well, I don't know. I don't know if I looked particularly, I don't know, maybe I got like the friendliest persons ever at the frickin' oil change place. But two of them gave me a quiz. The first one was like, what's the filthiest thing in a car that never gets washed? God fucking no. He's like, the keys. Do you know how many sets of keys I've touched that probably have diseases on them? I'm like, okay. And the second guy, he's really, truly trying to be helpful. Yeah, this is Percy, the one who is never around and super stealthy. He's hanging out with me. And that's Poppy. And Hixie was out here too. See, I told you I had my cats. Percy's the one that was sick over Thanksgiving. Very, very sick. He had an anxiety attack that caused him to have internal inflammation and caused him unable to pee and unable to defecate and blow up like a balloon and nearly go septic. But now he's doing great. I don't know if you can see him. He's very, very pretty. He looks like he has fish scales. Anyway, and he's very sweet. But he doesn't like people. You can kind of see him. Anyway. Yeah. So this guy is like, he's trying to be helpful. He's like, your headlights are dim. I can fix that. I'm like, oh God, here they go with the upselling. He's like, what did I just put in your car? I'm like, what did you put on my car? I don't know. He's like, oil. You put the oil on a rag and and he's explaining all about if you take something like car oil and rub it on the headlights, that it will fill in all the scratches and it will make it brighter. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what the hell are you doing talking to me? And I had this like major panic attack. And then, okay, now you're probably going to want to shoot me. Environmentalists out there. So yes, I had a Christmas tree, you saw it. And it's very, very dead. It's starting to turn yellow. And it is after Christmas. So I got rid of it. Now how I get rid of it, around here, I showed you before, there's all these hills. And there's one near the side of my house. And, it's, like filled in forest. It's like this, but a lot more. It's because it's bigger. And what do I do with my tree every year? I chuck the tree down the hill because it's going to decompose and it's natural. And it's better than putting it in a landfill, as far as I'm concerned. So I hauled this tree out to the back of my house, chuck it down the hill, into the sort of mini forest, because behind my house, there's nothing. There's no houses or anything. It's like there will be, I'm sure. Somebody's going to buy that land and put in a little, put in the driveway and build houses eventually. They're doing it everywhere else. I don't know why they wouldn't do it there. And eventually it's going to be turned into housing. But right now it's empty, so there's nothing back there at all. So, big deal, right? So I did this in the night. It's dark. There's nobody around. And I practically had a panic attack walking through my own damn yard because I was worried that somebody was going to speak to me. This is what happens when you have a massive amount of stress as a person with avoidant personality disorder and you don't cope with it. Is the less you're around people, the more agoraphobic type behavior you exhibit. You think this is good for you. You think, okay, this is what I need to stay away from people and just relax. And no, what it does is it makes it so much worse when you're interacting with people. It makes it almost impossible. And again, this is when people say, what's the difference between social anxiety and avoidant personality, is that it's with you all the time. When there's no trigger, no reason for it, none whatsoever, it still gets you. So that's where I'm at. Basically hitting all the same notes. I say the same thing over and over again. trying to focus on the future, because if I focus on right now, I'll basically go bonkers. There he is. That's about it. Bye.